Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
Is a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for you guys.
Do,
it's One Football. Guys, this app is genuinely, it's life-changing.
It's great because I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from like across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that One Football using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, again, it's another podcast without any pleasantries. I feel like we just have to get right into this. It's probably worse because we've had a bit of time to simmer and think about it. And I think we're still in a situation where we're both annoyed by the result. What's your take on that, mate? Because Newcastle are fucking awful.
Yes, mate. Yes, indeed. I'm honestly, mate, it's a very difficult result to sort of break down and analyse, and I don't want to go into it too much detail, because the issues we're playing to, everybody saw them. It was one where it really felt like a step backwards, I'll say. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Leeds game. It was like they're evident positive. So it's sort of, we took one step forward, we'd taken one back, we'd taken a point in a game we should have won. But it was you could stomach it because at the end of the day we played well at points and we played some good football and scored some good goals. But this one, for the first time really under the Stevie era, I don't think it really felt like this after Brentford either, which is the other comparable performance. Just felt like we're going backwards, mate.
And that's what's concerning, isn't it? Because, if you kind of look at the run of games we've been on, I'd argue for our past 3 games we've been poor. I mean, I know we beat Everton 1-0, but I think if a competent manager was in charge, then that is a completely different story. And I'm not talking about Frank Lampard, who's currently in charge either. If they got a genuinely good manager, and I think Everton would have probably done us in on that day, I guess the only positive thing from that game is we kind of got Drew into a bit of a dogfight and we were prepared to fight. And I can't really say the same about today, which is what's disappointing. And Newcastle, they were just so bad. Words fail me when I'm watching this, because this is a game that Villa should have won comfortably. And I think it's a game that most, if not all teams, I think any team would have rocked up today and beaten this Newcastle side. 37% possession, only had 10 shots, 2 of which were on target. What was shocking as well to me, Dan, Villa made 425 passes and Newcastle made almost half of that with 250, and they only had a 68% pass accuracy. They were awful. The key to this one, Dan, was matching them physically, was to win your duels, which is something that Villa did not do. We gave up possession 143 times. Newcastle won 61 duels and 22 of their aerial duels. Villa only won 56 and 12. And I mean, it's quite concerning. I don't really, I think after the last podcast, I think we may have done a bit of name pointing after the last podcast, which I don't really think is healthy. And I'm absolutely not pointing any fingers at Callum Chambers today, because generally I thought he was okay, but to see he only won 3 of his 11 aerial duels against Chris Wood, that just ain't good enough. That ain't good enough. The defence was not good enough yet again. And, that is caveated with the atrocious performance from the midfield, mate.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, mate. I think we got sucked into it a little bit today, and I will say that of the Leeds game is that I think that's the thing that I think agrees you most about the last 2 games, mate. Is that we've got sucked into the exact kind of game which the opposition wanted. Against Leeds
was the sort of very back and forth transition based counter attacks, that sort of game that they love to play and that they thrive in ultimately. And today, I think Newcastle are a team that are in a resurgence. It's fair to say that's their third win in the last 3 games. They're on a little bit of a streak. They're lifting themselves out the relegation zone. St James's Park has come alive. Newcastle as a city has come alive once again, and you can see from the way that they come out, and you've got those fantastic displays of other flags and everything like that. First thing you need to do, man, is shut that atmosphere down, silence it straight away. Now, the best way you can do that is with a goal, and that's not always readily available, I know. So the second best thing is don't allow them to have those moments where the crowd get up and the noise go up, that, you know, that isn't a goal or anything like that. Don't give them the chance to win the ball back in midfield. Don't give them a chance to win those duels, mate. Don't give the ball away and allow them to counter attack on you, and allow that atmosphere to build up and build up and build up. Again, especially when your away fans are so high up in that one stand that you struggle to hear them anyway, mate. And we did that. The best thing we could have done, mate, is just go into that game, slow the pace right down, keep the ball for long stretches, create problems of our own, and just quieten down that stadium. And we didn't do that. We didn't do that. The first 20 minutes, we were really poor. It allowed that atmosphere right from the start to continue. And, you know, I will say, you know, I have the tiniest bit of sympathies because it's a difficult atmosphere to play in. Yes. But it doesn't excuse that, that midfield is not working, mate. And I think we, for the first time, I think, you know, you got to maybe look at Stevie a little bit and just sort of say that I think the changes came too late. I think that was a game where there were very few games where I will really agree with action and changes at half time, but that felt like one of them. It just felt like one of those games where, okay, this isn't going to work. A lot of the time I'm like, okay, that's not worked. But if you go in with the same bunch of lads, tell them something different, they can go out the half and try and change that. Why are we waiting until 72 minutes? I don't know, because it was clear from about 35 that we needed some new faces in that team. So it was interesting that Stevie left that. But what concerns me most, mate, is that this is a team that have just come off a mini pre-season, where Stevie for the first time had them on the training ground for an extended period of time, had friendlies, had Villa Park, allowed him a real time with this squad, which he hasn't really had yet, to nail down some of his ideas, address some of the issues that were sort of creeping in beforehand, but that we were getting away with, like you said, in the Everton game, mate. And it's worrying that we've come into these last 2 games has been as poor as we have. It's no slight on Stevie or anything like that. But Villa fans are doing that classic thing where we start calling out tweets, and the amount of volume of tweets that there are calling out said tweets actually way exceeds the amount of tweets that there actually are. So I think there must have been 1 or 2 Gerrard out tweets, and everyone's like, why is everyone saying Gerrard out? Why is everyone Gerrard out? And now there's 10,000 tweets of people saying, why is there someone Gerrard out? There's 2 people that have actually said Gerrard out, and we're starting to do that again. And obviously it's nothing like that, mate. Stevie's the man. It's refreshing to hear him say what he did in his presser, but it's one of those where it is a little bit concerning because we've had that period where he said it himself was like a mini pre-season.
He has to take it on the chin. I think he summed it up perfectly with the way he was sat on the bench towards the end of the game, just in utter disbelief. And I think some of that falls on the system. I think some of that falls on the personnel as well. I do feel like at times Villa are too compact. I know that's how he plays, but for portions of the game, Manquillo went off injured, didn't he? So they had to change at fullback, and he's obviously playing on the wrong side in any case because Matt Targett weren't playing. And Kieran Trippier took a few knocks in the game. So for me, you really want to take advantage of the weakness in fullback and look to exploit that and stretch it. And Villa didn't. And what's even more frustrating is that midfield is so makeshift, that Newcastle midfield. You have Joelinton in his unorthodox box-to-box, come false 9 position, accompanied by Joe Willock and John Joe Shelby. All that midfield is his legs. There's no technical ability whatsoever. There's no brute strength really, apart from Joelinton. It's frustrating that Villa, whenever Villa were on the ball, and again, it's shockingly high amount of possession, 63%. It did not feel that way whatsoever. It just felt like we were so ineffective. And one of my biggest gripes, and this was similar in the Leeds game. Nobody's showing for the pass. Everybody's calling out Mings for playing these awful long balls, and they're fucking dreadful. But there's never a pass on. That isn't Mings' fault. If he's harboured about on the ball for too long, okay, there is a bit of a criticism there. But you kind of look, why is he on the ball for that long? Because there isn't an option to pass. And we've waxed lyrical about JJ for weeks now, Dan, and he's been fantastic. But if you go back and watch the video that we made about 2 weeks ago now, Dan, I think that the biggest thing that we were surprised about, and the one thing that we were highlighting the most, is the defensive contributions that have since disappeared. John McGinn, it was a much better performance from him, someone who we didn't see at all against Leeds. It was better. It wasn't brilliant, but and Douglas Luiz, man, like, I don't understand it. He isn't a six. He absolutely isn't a six. But I don't know. I'm lost for words, mate. I think the big thing for me is having that pass option now. Tactically, the one thing that was always very noticeable since Stevie's come in is having his 2 8s drop into fullback when the goalkeeper or the centre half has possession, showing for the ball. That's disappeared. We've not seen that for 2 or 3 games. That's quite alarming to me. And then at the times where we were seeing John McGinn just kind of drop back, Matty Cash is nowhere to be seen. He's all of a sudden bombed up. He's a fourth attacker or whatever. And Villa are just left completely exposed. And I'm going to refer to the average positions. And if it makes it into the podcast, it does. If not, just go and have a look on who scored. It will show you just how compact and utterly useless that midfield was. If you have a look, you've got McGinn and Dougie and Ramsey all right on top of each other, as well as Ollie as well, who was dropping deeper more often than not to try and get himself involved in this game. And yet he scored, and the offside is ridiculous. I think he's just about onside, but all that matters is the goal wasn't given. We can't really complain all too much about that. But it was just such a poor performance all round, Dan. Dean was off the mark. Coutinho didn't really impress me all that much today. I think the only one who can really sort of hold his head up high and say, well, listen, I've battled, I've put myself out there, I've looked to create is Emi Buendia.
Yeah, he's good in these situations, man. He's built for these battles, and I think that's rare of a player of his type. But you're right with the midfield, man. And I think it's weird how Villa have gone from this really weird spot where last season it felt like the spine of the team was so sorted. You had Emi in goal, you had Esri, who was the real standout in that centre back spot. But that partnership with Blinks was blossoming, and all the clean sheet stats that came with that little triangle back there. Then you had like the likes of McGinn in midfield, and Dougie ended the season really strongly. And then up top, Ollie was banging in goals, and it felt like, okay, well, we just have the spine now, and we just have to build around that. And now that's been completely blown out of the water. Completely. Ollie is an absolute shadow, and I was really disappointed that goal wasn't given, because you always hear strikers say when you're going for a drought, all you need is one to. The classic is off your ass, isn't it? It's like even if it goes in off your backside, and it felt like one of those goals, and it was taken away from him. But I mean, he was again completely missing, man. I don't know what's going on with Ollie, man, because I'm hesitant to say that, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, it's just a lack of confidence, yeah, I get that. But like, when surely if you're not getting the goals, you do everything else, you press, you work hard, you run an extra, however many K that you need to, just to make sure that you're still giving something, and that when the opportunity comes, you're working so hard that you're going to create them for yourself. And he's just not doing that. Like the running isn't there, the pressing, the energy, the hold at play that was like, even if he didn't score, he used to offer us so much. It's just not there. And like, man, I'm not going to call him out because, like, he's had a new kid recently, and like there's so much going on that could be impacting this. And like, whatever it is, I hope we manage to get on top of it. But at the moment, it's impacting the team. I honestly sort of felt like I put a message in the group chat with my mates, and I was like, what, if Danny Ings doesn't get on this pitch, we might as well sell him at full time. Like, we literally might as well get out there. The whistle goes, sell him, because if you're not going to use him now, when are you going to use him? This guy is far too good to be warming the bench. And imagine how frustrating it is for him. He must be sat on that bench pulling his hair out watching these performances from Ollie Watkins, because he knows how much he can give. He knows how good he is. Look at this guy's goal record, man. I think we've forgotten what a player we have on the bench. And if we're not going to use him, we might as well just sell him now, mate, because he's far too good. And we might as well call Cameron Archer and give him these 20-minute cameos we're giving at the end of games, because, like, what's the point in giving it to someone like Danny Ings? McGinn, as you said, mate, he's had overall still a very good season, but we've seen this over the last couple of years where he can sometimes drop in and out. Mings and Conso, obviously it was Mings and Chambers today, haven't been as reliable. Neither of them is up to the standard that they were last season. And you know what? I don't think Emi Martinez is either, really. Like, I'm not going to call him out. He's still a good performer, but like, he doesn't seem as indestructible as he was last year. It doesn't seem like he was always going to be our guardian angel. I'm not going to say he should have done better with the free kick. It takes a deflection and everything like that. It's hit with a lot of power, but I know that he'll be disappointed. I know that he'll be like, well, it's not been banged into the top corner. It's not been slammed into the side netting. It's a relatively central shot. And I know that when he watches that take back with cuts and everything like that, he's going to feel like he could have done better. I'm not going to say that because, as I said, it's so difficult in those situations. But he holds himself to a higher standard. And I think that spine of the team isn't there, mate. I think we miss Marvellous Nakamba. That midfield can't keep chopping and changing. We need to nail it down and figure exactly. We keep saying Dougie's not a six, and that's okay. Well, then we need to address that quickly. And I know we didn't do it, and I know I wasn't the biggest advocate for a six, because I think Dougie can hold it down for the most part, but he didn't do it in that game today, mate. And I think it's weird how we've seen that spine of the team go from being so nailed on to like all of them look like indispensable to the Villa at the moment. They don't seem like the key players that they were.
There's not a good feeling right now. And like, some people are saying like, oh, it's an overreaction, it's this, it's that. It's not. It's the accumulation of the small things. Like, sure, like losing to Newcastle is like for most teams the end of the world. We're looking at Everton getting done 3-1 by them only on midweek, Dan, and thinking, bloody hell, like these guys are in the trouble right now. And here we are, doing the same, almost losing in a similar manner to Everton. It was a disgraceful performance. I don't think Ollie Watkins is a Villa player in the summer, and I think, judging by the fact that Carney came on and offered nothing again, if we're being honest, Morgan Sanson is another one who won't be at the club, and I think we're in a really difficult position, because I think there are a few players who would have been told or will be thinking, well, I ain't going to be around, so it isn't my issue. And that kind of leaves you in quite a difficult place as a manager and for your teammates as well. I mean, like Danny Ings, we're going to do a podcast on this soon, Dan, because we need to have a discussion about the strikers. Because, I mean, anybody who listens to this knows that I'm all about Danny Ings. But like, how is he only getting 30 minutes here in this game? Like, it's a complete and utter catastrophe. And Leon, I guess a positive is he came back. He looked awful, but I wasn't really expecting anything from him. It's just about getting minutes in him. I think we have this thing where we win a few games and we get so carried away. Our squad depth is fantastic, all this kind of stuff. I feel like we're kidding ourselves a little bit. There's still a very long way to go. Villa are suffering again. It's another season down where we haven't gone and signed the number 6 that we've needed for the longest time. Now, this isn't just a recent thing. When we're in the Championship, we needed the 6 because you could only play one of Whelan or Jedinak for like one game. They couldn't play the 2 games a week. You're rotating, and that's never good for the team. We get promoted, we get Marv, you penny pinch a bit there, has the injury, all that kind of stuff. Villa need a Calvin Phillips type, Declan Rice type. I'm not saying go out and get them guys because they cost a fucking fortune and there's no chance that either side sells to Villa. But Villa need that presence anchoring down the base of the midfield. And I mean, Stevie said the other day, Tim Arogabegum, he's so close to making his debut. Like, Do we see him against Watford? Do we have a cameo with him at the 6? Like, at this point, like, realistically, what do we have to lose? Like, if we're prepared to embed Carney, if JJ's flourishing, may as well, give Tim his opportunity. The only thing that would worry me about that is Villa fans getting on his back. But Watford presents a fresh challenge, Dan, a new start. They're not having a great time right now. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this is a tough game for Villa. I know there was no preview this week, guys, but we'll get on that for the Watford game, because there's a lot to debrief from this game, which I feel like we still haven't touched on yet. But no, I don't really know what else to say on that, Dan. It was a disgrace. I think, if anything, it can only be a good thing for Stevie. I think he has to take this one on the chin. I think there's the responsibility falls on both the players, the manager, and the system. And hopefully, Watford, that, as I say, that is the kind of that's exactly the kind of team and opponent you want after a performance like this, mate. If you can't get fired up for Watford at home, I'm asking some very serious questions of the players and the staff, mate.
Yeah, mate, it's one of those games where you're right. It is exactly the game that you want, but I know it sounds stupid, but only if you win it. Only if you win it. Yeah, it's like, then we go and play Brighton and Southampton, two sides that are, we're in 12th, Southampton are 10th, Brighton 9th at the time of recording, before we go into West Ham, Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham, Liverpool, Leicester. That's a difficult run. And if you go and get a win at, because of the nature of loyal football fans like us, a win means all this is forgotten. If we go and comfortably beat Watford at Villa Park, all of this feels long gone, and there's a renewed sense of positivity. You're like, okay, it's all right. It was just a blip. Villa are back. Stevie's the man. On we go. And you go into this run of games, and Villa do tend to put up a better fight against the big teams. We've seen that at points this season. And in seasons gone by. However, if we don't win that game, then those running games look totally different, mate. Totally different. So I think it's good because we won't underestimate them. We know that just because of the way that we're playing, it's probably going to be a bit more of a fight than it should be. But the quality is still there. We still know exactly what the Villa are about, what Stevie wants to do. My faith in him hasn't altered slightly. I think I never want to say, like, just get to the end of the season, bring on next year, because there's still a lot of football to be played, mate. And in the Premier League, every position counts with the amount of finances that are involved and everything like that. So I think we have to try and end this season in the best way that we can. And I think this game will be very pivotal in how we do that, because, as I said, it sets the mood going into these difficult games. If we go, which we're capable of, if we go and put 3 or 4 goals past Watford, which, we've put, 2 or more goals past harder teams this year, then it sets those games up better. But, if even if we don't win convincingly, if we scrape it 2-1 or 1-0 or something like that, it's like, I think it will set a tone for how we close out the year, mate. So, yeah, I think it's one of those where it could be the best possible game. It could be the game that allows us to finally go and put 3 or 4 past the team. But then again, it could be the game which breaks us going into an important run again.
It could, man. It could. And yeah, guys, that's probably a good note for us to end this podcast on. You're probably going to see this in the morning after. Currently getting ready to go and watch the Super Bowl. Let us know if you're into that kind of stuff in the comments, because I think it's probably best we don't talk about Villa in the comments today. And yeah, if you haven't checked out One Football, make sure you do so. Top link in the description. They're amazing what they're doing for the channel right now, and they're loving how you guys are engaging with the app. So make sure you download it using our link in the description. It would help us out more than you could imagine. Hope for Villa.